Morning, or actually, good afternoon. This is Tia Torres here on this rainy Saturday. I'm looking out my window and just sitting here, so thankful that I have a beautiful place to do these podcast episodes from. For those that don't know, I live way down in the middle of nowhere in a swamp here in Southeast Louisiana. I'm just so grateful to live here. I know it's not everybody's cup of tea, but it just brings out the creative juices in me. Like as soon as I'm done with this podcast recording, I think I'm going to start working on my novels some more. Not to get sidetracked, but I think I created a whole new genre in novels. I call it criminal romance. And these are all like stories based on truth, but fiction, based around the prison world. So I can't wait to get back to that today. Anyways, this week has been a very interesting week of news stories. The crimes, some of these crimes I'm reading about are just beyond horrific. The brutality of them, many of them geared towards children. We don't want to think that things like this can happen, but we all know they do. And it got me thinking. I want to say last week, I was reading one of these posts somewhere about prison wives. And the term prison wife has become very common, especially on TikTok. TikTok has a whole prison wife genre, a whole following. And, women who are in a relationship or married to an inmate, they just tell their stories, they post pictures, and it's a thing. It's a very common thing. And I noticed in one of the posts, a woman commented and put, "What about us prison moms?" Got me thinking. As I'm reading this string of horrible crimes that have happened throughout the country in the past few weeks, mainly against children, I'm talking brutal, like taking their lives. And I don't want to get into detail because I don't want my podcast taken down. I know some of these platforms are very sensitive to details, so I'd rather not. But anyways, with the obvious, which is those poor children and the families, the victims, families, what they're going through. There are no words to describe it. But I started thinking about that woman who commented about, what about us prison moms? Can you imagine being the mother? And I'm going to say the mother, not the father, the mother, because I'm probably going to piss some people off here, but to me, being a mother is different than being a father. But the mothers of these people who committed these horrific crimes, can you imagine waking up and seeing that we'll say your son is on the news for doing this, killing children or torturing children? And, you don't even want to go outside. You don't want to go to work. The thought of that. And I'm not dismissing and taking away from the victims' families, but the mothers, more or less, I would assume, did not cause this. Now, unless you're talking about the Menendez brothers who blamed it on their parents, but, sorry, had to get a little dig in there. But just like a loving mother who thought she did everything right. And then seeing your son or daughter get sent to prison and then have to worry about what's going to happen to them. Now, for some of you, for the victim's family, it is understandably very easy to say, who cares? They got what they got coming to them. But that doesn't take away the pain of the mother of these monsters. Because I'm sorry, that's what you've become at that point. You are a monster. We may never know why you became a monster, but doing this makes you one. And being that mother who says, I raised my child to be the best of the best. I showered them with love. Yes, we weren't maybe the wealthiest, but I did the best I could. I just can't imagine, because I am a mother. And I'm sorry, I don't mean to, what's the right word I'm looking for? I don't mean to be so condescending, but unless you are a mother, you will not get this feeling. But the guilt these women must feel, seeing that their son or daughter went out and committed the most horrific of the horrific crimes you could ever do. The guilt, the weight, the shame, going to court, going to the trial, and seeing the families, the victim's family sitting across from you crying that some little child is dead because of your son or your daughter, and thinking, what could I have done better? What did I do wrong? And as many of you know, I've had multiple convict husbands in different capacities. My first convict husband, I knew him on the streets before. He's the father of Tanya, my oldest daughter. He was in and out of prison when I was with him. So, it was like a way of life. We'll talk about my second convict husband. That was a whole strange situation. I married him when he came out of prison, though. But knew him very well before. Third and fourth husband, met through a pen pal website. I mean, here's the thing. There's a different type of hurt that comes with being a prison wife in different capacities. For the women who were with their men before, they have children maybe, and then their man up and gets arrested and just leaves them struggling. That is pain. No doubt. To the women who meet a man while he's in prison, and fall in love and long for that man to be out. We don't get to minimize their feelings. Love is love. So maybe not realizing what they got themselves into and how painful that is. That hurts. I follow a woman on TikTok who married somebody on death row. And although he did take someone's life, it wasn't like a brutal, horrific thing how I'm talking. I'm not going to get into the details of his crime, but it wasn't like this brutal thing. He took someone's life. And, I see her she does a podcast, and the pain that she goes through knowing that someday he may be gone at the hands of the state of Louisiana. I'm almost positive it's Louisiana, or maybe it's California. But anyways, we don't get to minimize their pain. And there are those who have parents in prison. When the Chrisleys got arrested, the Chrisleys are from the reality show Chrisley Knows Best. Okay, and Todd and Julie Chrisley got indicted and charged with, basically, it was a white collar crime. It was like a bank fraud, something or other, loan fraud. I don't know if they did it or not. But what I can say with certainty, in my opinion, is that they were overcharged. Holy moly, they were given like double digits. But to see their daughter left behind to care for her two younger brothers, very painful. She too has a podcast. And to listen to her crying, oh my God, it broke my heart to lose your parents. But I'm sorry, I'm going to say it. There is no pain worse than that of a mother who loses her child to the prison system. It's just a whole nother kind of pain. It's amplified. I just gave myself goosebumps when I said that. And that's what got me thinking about, it's hard enough being the mother of somebody who's in prison for, let's say, burglary. But can you imagine being the mother of one of those people who committed the most horrific crime ever? Pretty rough. And I think the whole point of my spiel is to have compassion. That everybody hurts. Everybody hurts. But to have compassion, to have some understanding. Okay, maybe you don't want to have any compassion for that person who's incarcerated. Okay, I get it. They're a bad man, they're a bad lady, whatever. But the families, they didn't do anything wrong. And that's kind of, I think, where my thinking goes. Sure, if there's a chance, I want to see everybody who's incarcerated get out and do good and redeem themselves. I do. But it's also painful for those of us that are outside. Thus, the title of my podcast channel called Doing the Time with Tia Torres. Because when they do the time, so do we, right? We do. So I just wanted to point that out. I just wanted to let everyone know that prison moms, I see you. I feel you. And we're here for you too. Okay, well, next topic, I think I'm going to do a little bit of inside investigating. Oh yeah, I got something juicy coming up. All right, well, you all have a good day. And I know I have some fancy tagline in there. I just can't remember it. So I will see you and talk to you on the next one.